Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
On this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about medieval, clouds, and part 1 of Chris being interviewed on Phoenix FM.
Welcome to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a man, me, way too pleased with himself at the minute, a girl who thinks carry on, please, somebody take over. Take over.
We're joined by a man who has less than 1 unit a year. Alcohol volumes.
1 unit Russ. We're going to
This used to be a semi-serious podcast, you know, and
Did it? When was that? When were we ever a semi-serious podcast?
Semi-serious.
We'll get to the serious bits in a minute, Russ. This is...
Well, just full disclosure on everybody who's listening to the podcast. We have started this episode how many times? 4, and apparently, if you get a bit Anglo-Saxon with your language,
No, it was your potty mouth that made us start again.
no, hold on. If apparently you get Anglo-Saxon with a language, you've got to put a warning sign. Now, Russ, you're our producer. Have you got a beep? Have you got a beep machine?
Well, we had that interview that time, didn't we? And I had to put beeps in.
Oh, yes.
Chris Hutton, I think it was, or Gary Hutton.
Gary Hutton, products of a boat's code. I mean, he was probably the most Cockney guest we've ever had, and he was very Anglo-Saxon,
graphical
in his language, graphic language.
Trigger happy with his swear words.
Exactly. Now, I did it for effect, and then on the next take, I did it again for effect. But it wasn't me with a potty mouth, was it?
14 takes later, we're actually getting a podcast out.
But it wasn't
I
me
said
with
it once in casual conversation, knowing we were...
casually with your Anglo-Saxon language, are we now? Now we're at university.
It was Charlotte that started it, I agree.
But at least I didn't do it when we'd already started.
No, I agree with that also.
Oh, God, you two. Oh, it's all right just swearing it up when we're not recording the podcast, but apparently as soon as we do, you can't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can I just say, I should have been writing today, and I will be doing some writing a little bit later on. I've been to the gym. I've recorded a podcast interview with Russ. Not with Russ, although.
Oh, we did make a decision today, though, didn't we?
Did we?
Oh.
At the end of the podcast recording, at the end of the interview recording.
We made an executive decision. We should have included you, Charlotte.
We should have.
Let's talk about on the podcast. You know, we're going to end on 300.
300, yeah.
The 300 episodes is going to be the end of the Kindness Project.
Yep.
We've decided that, and we're going to start planning it very soon.
Yeah.
The last one is going to be our live show.
When is that date?
Don't worry about that. We'll get it all organised in time. But
What if I can't be there?
You will be there. You will be there.
We'll
make it happen. We'll make it happen.
30 weeks.
Okay. Whatever we need to do to make that our last live show, we're going to do it. All right. The last one is going to be a live recording. Charlotte, previously when we talked about this, Raz was up for this.
I'm down
Now
for
we're
it. If I'm in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come up to you.
Exactly. We're doing it in Glasgow. We will make it happen regardless, but we've got plenty of time to plan because we've still got about 30 weeks. But I think on the run up to episode number 300, you know what we need to do, Charlotte?
What?
We need to interview Russ.
Oh no, we never agreed to that.
We just did, didn't we, Charlotte?
No.
What?
Well, if Russ doesn't want to do it, then
I'm not dynamic enough to be interviewed, to be honest.
Yes, you are. Your dynamism grows by the day, Russ, and that's why you should be interviewed.
I like to the point though. I don't like all that pussyfooting around. What did this make you feel? And what did that make you feel? I like to the point.
You're 1 unit, Russ. Just give me 1 unit and job done.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. We'll ask you a lot of questions.
And it was Route 1, Russ, not 1 unit.
Well, it's now Unit 1, Russ. I mean, it's Unit 1, Russ. It's Route 1, Russ. There's only one Russell Dames.
I do have an update for you though on the new business venture.
Oh, funny.
I decided to go with Charlotte's suggestion, copy and code. I thought that a place where I brought me domains and I've ordered me logo.
Brilliant. Coffeeandcode.com.
Copy N, A-N, because there was already a copy and code. Copy and code.com and .co.uk.
So, royalties, Charlotte, is that happening?
Nah, you can have it, Russ.
There's no royalties.
I'll have the royalties, Russ. I'll have the royalties because I was involved in the brainstorming session, wasn't I?
Well, from what I remember when we first started this podcast, you said we was eventually going to get a profit from it. But
no, we gave all the money to charity, Russ.
I haven't seen any of that.
No, I will never. Hold on. Have I?
Never have I.
And actually, even though we do make money through book sales, we are giving that money away.
We are.
As is the kind of thing to do to good causes. How about that?
I need to get a copy of the book at some point.
I mean, you wrote in it as well, Russ. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I need to get a copy because I designed the cover, but
have you read it?
I've read it, yeah.
Have you read it, Charlotte?
No, when was I supposed to read it? I haven't got a copy.
I'll send you
you can buy a copy like everybody else.
No, I'll send you the draft copy that we've got, Charlotte.
Oh, cute. Thanks.
No, not cute.
I'll get a physical one so I can highlight it.
Yeah, look, you need to get a physical one because that is the first in your journalistic career, the first forward you've ever written.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm going to buy a physical copy because I designed the cover, handled most of the publishing.
Yeah. You did, Russ. You did.
So I'm going to display that on my sideboard. When people come in and say, "What's that book?" I'm going to say, "Well, I didn't write it, but I've practically done everything else for it."
Well, we did have a publisher as well, Russ.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
And an editor.
But here's talking of Anglo-Saxon language. I was speaking at a book club this week about the book. We've got a big book launch event. Only a handful of tickets left, Russ, right? So if you would like to come, we'll put that on the show notes, although we might have had the book launch event by the time this episode goes out. But
this will go out the day of the book launch.
All right, okay, so there might not be tickets available because they are...
I've got one in the bag, so this
Oh, damn, you got one in the backlog? Okay.
All right, okay, so the book launch will be done and we'll be talking about how the book launch went on the book, on the podcast, on a future podcast. However, I did... get to speak at a book club this week where the attendees had read the book, and a couple of them hadn't because they were first-time attendees at book club and they got a copy, and I spoke about the book. But a lot of them had, and there was a guy there who was in his, I'd say, probably in his early 30s, who said to me, I've not read a book for about 12 to 13 years, since I was at school. And I can't put you, and it has this for an Anglo-Saxon testimonial. He said to me, that was, insert Anglo-Saxon words here, brilliant. Now, Russ, we should have got the testimonial like that.
I'm
shouldn't we?
surprised you didn't ask him for an Amazon review.
I'm a bit scared, to be honest, about what he might put, but yeah, that was amazing, and I was really proud. So what he said to me is, every time I read it, I beam from ear to ear because it makes me feel better. And the reason he read it is he said he wanted to be a bit kinder. So I'm really, yeah. If he's the only one that ever reads the book and we've had a positive impact, we've done the right thing.
Well, yeah, it is good news.
It is good news. So that was very good, and we'll see how the optimism and kindness within the book continues to grow over the remainder of
I don't
2023.
know what it is about this podcast, but you always seem really upbeat. My energy level goes down every time I think about what I've got to do.
That's Russ. That's because you do the actual work, and we do what we're good at, which is what, Charlotte?
Presenting. We wouldn't have this podcast without you, Trev.
Oh, I don't know if I'm any good at presenting, Russ. That's not. I'm just good at having a waffle.
Sorry, hosting.
Yeah.
Having a
On that
waffle.
note, let's talk about clouds. I have been avidly reading charlottedames.com, your blog. Tell us a little bit about clouds.
I love them. They're so fluffy in the sky. I took a
Right.
picture of them at sunset the other day and just
Oh, that photo you put on the family group was amazing.
yeah. I'll put it on my Twitter.
What is it about clouds?
They're just cool. I just like them.
That
And
just
also
What's your
it's like-
favourite cloud fact?
You can predict the weather using clouds, but also that one about the fact that the wind that is moved by mountains can also move clouds. Because you know the shape of the mountains makes the wind shift because it can't go through the mountain; it has to go.
That's quite
That makes
interesting.
clouds move, which is
Right, say that again. The wind that's moved by mountains.
so. You know, when wind is blowing, it can't go through the mountain.
Wouldn't it be displaced by mountains?
So it gets displaced by the mountain, so it sort of has to shift, and then it moves clouds,
Yeah, it comes over the top.
and so the mountains sort of shape the clouds
Yeah.
through that movement of the wind.
Oh,
So cool.
that's very cool.
And sometimes, have you ever seen it where the ocean and the mountains meet, and the clouds sort of cut off at the ocean because the sea breezes move with the mountains, and the clouds move along with it?
Yeah, so they're blown towards flatter land, and then it stops
I
because
don't think I've ever thought that much about a cloud in my life.
Oh,
No.
clouds are so cool. Clouds are
I
so
mean, I always remember playing that game though, where you look up and basically go, look, there's a
Well,
car
yeah.
in the clouds, and
People
there's
say
a.
that looks like this. I look up, I think it's a cloud.
That
I
looks
saw
like a nice
you.
place to have
I
a
saw
nap.
you in the clouds. I saw you in the clouds, Russ, once.
Yep.
Strangest looking cloud I've ever seen. But also the most beautiful, because it can be strange and beautiful.
You know, we
Russ.
said 300.
We're looking closer to 275.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking closer to this being our last one. And on that note, Charlotte's going to give us a little bit of.
Oh, kindness news.
Now, this episode contains an interview with me talking about the book. So I'd suggest that the best thing we can do is you do all the kindness news.
Oh, because you're going to be doing a lot of talking.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I've hand selected these specifically for you.
Have you?
I know how much you love Wife UK or whatever it is. Oh,
You know how much.
Married at First Sight.
Oh, I'll do the Married at First Sight one. Oh, go on. Hold on. It won't open on me. It
I'll
should
do
have
the
done it.
first one, and then you can do the Married at First Sight one afterwards.
Go
So
on
we all know how much you love Married at First Sight.
No, hold on. Australia. Is it from Australia?
I don't know where it's from. All I know is as you keep pointing out, I
Australia.
keep using historical news. These are the most up to date on Google.
This is Kindness News, up to date on Google edition. Go, Charlotte.
Okay, this one's from 2 days ago. 5-year-old who emptied piggy bank for earthquake relief now wins 48 million lottery jackpot at 18.
Oh, amazing.
A delightful story from Northern Ontario saw a 5-year-old girl's good karma wait 13 years to reward her. Juliette Lamour won the state's second largest lottery jackpot in history, 48 million Canadian dollars, on her first ever try. Local news from her home city revealed a touching side of the story, that at 5 years old, Lamour made a very big act of charity, and the suggestion that her generosity has been rewarded is impossible to resist making. It was 2010, and the island nation of Haiti had just been ravaged by an earthquake. Aid organisations from across the world rushed to help the people of the obliterated country stabilise and recover. At the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound hockey team ice rink, a branch of the Canadian Red Cross had set up a table to help raise money for Haiti, and Juliet and her sister Sophie were determined to help. They upturned their big pink sharing piggy bank that day, out of which came $61.38. Then last week, Juliet stepped forward as a young woman to claim the 48 million prize at the Ontario Lottery offices. She told Sue today that she was on her way to bring her grandfather some ice cream. I called him on the phone asking what kind of ice cream he wanted, and he said to me, "You just turned 18, go buy a lotto ticket, test your luck." So I did. I got to the corner store and I'm in my car and I didn't know how to buy it. I said I had to call my dad. I said, "Dad, Grandpa wants me to buy a ticket. How do I do it?" He's like, "Oh, just go inside and get a quick pick." Fortunately for Lamour, her father is a financial advisor, so it's unlikely to burn a hole in her pocket.
Yes. The dad is clearly the hero of that story. Financial planners are good people, aren't they? Eh? What do we reckon? I don't know about you, but I'm getting financial advisor dads from that. He's like pretty decent.
Not kind 5-year-old repaid on her 18th birthday.
But she got her values potentially from what her dad taught her.
But it's disappointing me because I bought a man a coffee when I was 18. I've been playing the lottery ever since and never won a dime.
Well,
I won
you know
like
what?
£5 when I was a kid on a scratch card that Nan bought me.
I mean, I'll never win the lottery because I don't play the lottery, but it couldn't have gone to somebody who clearly has got the right morals and values at heart. I absolutely love that story. That's brilliant. Let me of all time, Married at First Sight Australia. Now, these two people are from the new series that I haven't seen yet, but let me share it anyway. Married at First Sight bride Melinda Willis has ruffled some feathers. Oh God! You know what? You've picked this from the Daily Mail, and it's annoying me already, Russ. Has ruffled some feathers of some of her classmates with her brash and outspoken nature, but she recently showed her softer side to a co-star. The 32-year-old fashion and beauty CEO stunned fellow bride Caitlin McConville by offering her a job at the beauty parlour. The blonde beauty learned Caitlin resigned from her makeup position to film maths and offered her a role working for her once filming ended. Melinda offered to help her out as they've become very close. She's got a huge soft side for you who haven't seen on the show yet. Caitlin quickly posted on the business's Instagram page to share her excitement about working at Melinda's beauty parlour. She wrote, "I can't wait. I'll meet you all soon. I'm super passionate about beauty and creating amazing results." The Queensland native also shared a photo of her doing some in-office training by performing her facial on a mannequin. Earlier this week, Melinda, a confident and sassy businesswoman, was immediately disappointed by her maths groom despite his affable demeanour. She was instantly put off by Leighton Mill's physical appearance. Oh God, here we go. Physical appearance despite his smooth talk and impeccable presentation. But regardless of all the maths drama, he has done quite a kind thing for her friend and fellow married at first sight Australia bride. So well done on doing that. And on that note, let's move on to the interview. You've heard more than enough from me today, but the interview is with me, and it was on when I was on the radio, on a radio station called Phoenix FM, talking about the Kindness Project book. Enjoy the interview.
It's Phoenix 90 FM Drive in association with St Francis Hospice, doing more than you think. With me, Stuart Pink, and joining me in the studio is Chris Stearns from the Kindness Project. Hello.
Hi, Stuart. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Very well, actually. I'm looking forward to Christmas. I'm flying up to Scotland on Friday to be with the in-laws. So.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Diplomatically put. Excellent, excellent. Flying up to Scotland. I feel like Scotland is very Christmassy.
I'd imagine it is. Apparently it was 5 degrees cooler up there than it was down here when we had the snow. So I'm hoping it warms up by the time we get up there.
Yeah, hope so. Put the heating on early.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Do they have reindeer? I feel like they would have reindeer in Scotland and everything.
I think they do. Somewhere they do.
Yeah.
I think there's reindeer everywhere, really.
Not that far away from Lapland.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of
It's
things.
true. Don't remind me.
Thanks for joining us. You are from the Kindness Project.
Yeah.
Which is, as projects go, sounds like the best one.
Oh, you know what? I've absolutely loved doing it. It started for me 5 years ago. I was looking at the world and sort of realised that we don't get that much positive news out there. So decided that I wanted to, with my daughter, who was 13 at the time, and there was a bit of a selfish reason for starting the Kindness Project, because I had a teenage daughter who I had a feeling, Stuart, never wanted to talk to me ever again. So I thought, if we've got this project that we can do together, it gives us an opportunity to sort of share ideas and carry on chatting, and we've done that. But the idea of it was effectively to give me the chance to speak to people doing good stuff in the world. So effectively, the idea of the podcast, which is what the Kindness Project is we interview people doing amazing stuff, and we've done that now pretty consistently for over 5 years. So much so that I had enough stories to turn it into a book that's recently been published.
Oh wow!
And we're now in a position where we're raising loads of money for St Francis Hospice by promoting the book. So that's the reason I'm here.
Oh, that's such a lovely idea. Yeah. So it come from wanting to sort of have projects you're working on with your daughter.
Yeah, so effectively it came from me sitting there 5 years ago, turning on the news, only seeing the bad stuff that was going on in the world, and thinking, actually, my lived experience is most people are generally good, and most people do some decent stuff. So who showcases the stories of people doing really good stuff? Yeah. And we've had a huge variety of people, all the way from people who run charities and work for charities, through to a lady who I wrote about in the book who dressed up as an elf. It's particularly pertinent telling this story this time of year. Dressed up as an elf and delivered presents to every single children's hospice in the UK.
Oh,
so I thought, I read that in the paper, got in touch with her, and literally, I was a bit gutted because she didn't turn up for her interview as an elf.
Oh, didn't get the memo on that one.
But just sharing the stories of people doing amazing stuff has been a pleasure over the past 5 years.
Yeah. So how can you remember how many people you've spoken to? Have you lost count at this point?
We're on episode 268.
Wow.
Because we've sort of posted weekly for a number of years now. Typically, when we do an interview, we spread it over a couple of weeks. So I'd say about 130 interviews we've done over that period of time. And yeah, just a massively wide range of people. If I think that you're doing good stuff in the world, I want to speak to you.
We'll get them on.
Yeah.
That's such a lovely thing. So what, all the people you've spoken to, they're all obviously doing things that are kind and nice and wonderful. What do you think, is there anything that's kind of like a through line between these people that you could say,
That's a really
kind
good question.
people are like this?
The answer is there's so many different ways that you can do good in the world, isn't there?
Yeah.
So effectively, it's it's difficult to say and define a sort of definitive factor. I'd suggest that that out of everybody I've met, there is one definitive factor, and it's they've got a belief that the world is a optimistic place generally. You know, we all know bad stuff happens. We all know that there's tough times and there's challenges in our life. But I think people who are kind tend to view the world from a perspective of, well, look, it might be bad out there, but I can do something to positively change that. So I'd say that the run through is probably a little bit of optimism and a lot of hope that what they were doing was changing the world for the better.
Lovely. I mean, yeah, that's a nice way of view things. And I think I'm speaking to a lot of people on this show as well. It's similar that you can see often people coming in who have seen the bad or the things that aren't going so well and thought to themselves, I'm going to be the difference here. I'm going to change that.
Yeah. I suppose it is easy to not do that, isn't it? You know,
moan about it.
I think the default, as you say, the default is to actually turn around and say, you know, what can I do? But you know, what I've learned through interviewing all these people is, you know, even if you're doing a little thing, it all adds up. You know, I love that story, and it's not in the book, but I love that story of I don't know if you've ever heard of that starfish story. So there's a little girl on a beach, and there's like hundreds of starfish on this beach, and they're all sort of stranded. And she's just picking them up individually and throwing them back in the sea. And this guy walks up to her and says, look, you're never going to get round to chucking all of these starfish back in the sea. What difference are you making? So she picks up a starfish, chucks it back and says, I made a difference to that one. so I suppose if we all did that, we'd all be in a situation where the world would be a slightly more optimistic place.
And maybe she would have inspired the guy who asked the question to also throw in starfish.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was interesting. So what we also did, and this was sort of in response and a way for us really to cope with COVID and lockdown. When lockdown 1 happened, we started doing live video every morning, and it was, as I say, it was a way because Charlotte at the time was studying for her GCSEs. They got cancelled. I was trying to sort of run my financial planning business from home, and I needed something positive in my life to get me up in the morning.
Yeah.
And so we did live interviews, and the amount of people who said they tuned in and it made their days start with a bit of a positive spin. You know, that hopefully that us doing the podcast has meant that people have enjoyed it and sort of started their day off in the right way. I've loved it.
Yeah. Oh, it's marvellous. So where can people find out? And obviously the podcast is available wherever you get your podcast from.
Yeah.
It's called...
It's called the Kindness Project. So if you put the Kindness Project into Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, certainly you can do that. And the Kindness Project book is out now, and you can get it on Amazon.
Amazing. I understand, speaking of very kind people, as one of those guests on the podcast and potentially even in the book, is our very own Andy Furneaux. off of Phoenix FM.
He is, and funny enough, it was amazing because and I write about this in the book. So one of the amazing things, first time I ever met Andy, and I'm lucky enough now to call Andy a friend. I sort of love Andy to bits, but one of the first time I ever met Andy, he turned up at my office head to toe in orange because he was there to be an advocate and promote the hospice.
Yeah.
And I thought...
It's very orange as well, isn't it? Yeah. It's
very orange.
That is the most orange jumper I've ever seen.
So this little orange fella turns up and I'm going, who have they sent me to... But interestingly, he was probably the best advocate for the hospice ever, and because he's so passionate about the work they do, and that's why when we decided that we didn't want to make money out of the book. We're lucky in terms of having a pretty sort of well-established and sustainable business that does okay. We wanted all of the proceeds of the book to go to charity, and St Francis Hospice was a sort of natural choice for that.
Yeah. Lovely. What does the charity mean to you? Is it a personal connection to you, or just they do? I mean, they obviously do amazing work because they sponsor the show here on Phoenix, and we know what they do. But.
Yeah, I mean, effectively because of the amazing work they do, and again, I write about it in the book. My granddad wasn't in St Francis, but he had end of life hospice care. I've been to visit the hospice many times through the work that we've done to raise money for them. I did the marathon for them last year as well. And I just know the amazing work they do and proud to support them, really.
Lovely stuff. So I'm a bit interested to hear more about what your experience of starting a podcast was like. So we'll chat a bit about that in a minute.
So that was more on me. How are we feeling about that?
Far too much at you, to be honest.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Russ.
Cheers, guys. Really appreciate that. And as we're finishing on a really optimistic note, we need something. As we're only a semi-serious podcast, right? Did you say?
Well, semi-serious, yeah. I wouldn't call it serious.
Semi-serious. When are we serious?
No, I wouldn't call it serious.
Okay. We're doing bad joke of the week.
Right, so I've been prepping for this.
Oh.
I've got like a couple of tabs. Been scrolling through.
Bonnie.
Settled on one. I couldn't believe the highway department called my dad a thief. But when I got home, the signs were all there.
When's the joke start?
Unbelievable.
Go on,
Where
one
would
more
it
try.
start and then criticise our work at the end?
Right, it weren't bad, but it wasn't.
I found that quite good. I like that, but
Thank you, Russ.
Oh, go on then. One more.
such a grouch today, isn't you?
I know.
No.
I don't think that's done hardly anything.
Russ, I think he should just play into the format that he has to dislike all of my jokes.
Yeah.
You know?
No, hold on. I laughed at one of the previous jokes. I did laugh at one. Let's try one more time. Make this one better.
Right, okay. Did you hear about the painter who was hospitalised?
Well, the sign's all there.
No, there's no... Okay. There was no actual thing on the thing.
What? There was that the punchline. First
No,
one,
no.
Russ. That wasn't the punchline, Russ.
What
Right, what happened to
that
the
only
painter?
costs 45 cents? I got a punchline for this one, I promise.
Did the painter go? What concert
only
costs 45 cents? Don't know.
50 Cent featuring Nickelback. Some of them have got me bad. I'm sorry. Some of them have got me bad.
All right, we at least we can say we
that
tried,
wasn't as
chaps,
good as
can't
the
we?
first one. Or the painter.
The painter one didn't even have a punchline.
That was
On
the
that note-
comic geek. That was the comic genius of Charlotte. I'm sure it was.
That was she intentionally told a joke without a punchline.
Sure, I clicked it and there was no punchline.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
man.
Well, I don't know what to say. Apart from that is the end of another shambolic episode of the Kindness Project. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you next time for another action-packed podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.